So it's about time we addressed these drive shaft issues. So I'm going to rebuild these before they go back on, just repack them with grease. See the grease is getting a bit dry on them. This shaft here is literally 10 months old, not even 12 months old. And look at the state of this CV already. And it ain't from like splitting, it's not caught or anything. You can see it's like it's 10 years old. Look at that rubber or whatever the joints are made out of these days. Now you can see this one I replaced a while back, maybe 2 years ago, and it's still just as good as new. So shaft tech, that's brilliant from them. You can see the state of that. So we're going to take this CV joint off now, and then we're going to rebuild this, repack it with grease, take these off this cage, and I'll show you how to repack that all with grease. Give them a nice bit of CV grease so they go back on the car nice and fresh. So one thing that confuses a lot of people about these Z20let CV joints is, in here you normally have a circlip that you can get a set of circuit pliers in there, prise that circlip open, and then you can just tap off the CV joint. But on the Z20let, they've still got a circlip in there, but it's a spring-loaded C-clamp. So it's on the end of this drive shaft is a C-clamp. So you literally have to smash away at this CV joint. You put the shaft in the vise, and then you hit it, but don't hit it with a lump hammer, a metal lump hammer, because you're going to crack this casing or you're going to damage the CV joint itself. Get yourself a big rubber mallet, I'll show you the one I use, or even put a bit of wood around here, then you can hit it with a hammer if you want. Don't hit it directly because you're going to crack it. So for this, I use a big rubber mallet, this size one. There is little ones you can get like this sort of size one, but you can see this one's way more man enough. Give that a couple of cracks on there and that's coming off. So get your shaft inside the vise like that, clamp it right up and get your lump hammer and give it a couple of big whacks. Just give it on this casing here, don't give it around this section here because you're going to start chipping it off. There you go. A couple of big hits and it comes off, as simple as that. So one thing you will notice on this car, because it is my track car and I like to service these CV joints every now and then, I don't use these metal clips. I use a thick cable tie. That way you can just snip them off. If your race car hasn't got cable ties on it, it ain't race car. You've got to have gaffer tape as well somewhere. So these metal clips, obviously they're very good for road cars if you're never taking the shafts out and you want them to last for miles and miles. Where I'm taking the shafts out constantly, breaking gearboxes, etc. So this is the inner CV. You can see here there is a circlip on it. Just give it a clean up with the grease and you'll be able to see it. Get yourself a set of circlip pliers and you literally just prise that open like that. And watch now, because this can spring off and hit you in the face. So make sure you're wearing safety glasses. Obviously I am not. It's like a little spring. Watch it don't ping everywhere. The amount of times I've had that flying everywhere. This will literally just pull off now. You can see. Make sure it goes back on the right way round. These, I've got to tell you now, these CV gaiters or CV joints are the messiest things you're ever going to do on a car. Make sure you've got plenty of cloths, and even still you're going to get it all over your hands, or over your face. And you can see inside there's another CV clip. So leave that one on because we ain't going to be doing anything to it. I just wanted to show you how to get it off. I'm going to re-grease all this in here and put it back together. So with these joints, you've got to use molly grease. Don't use normal grease because it's no good. It just breaks down. It has to be molly grease. That's perfect for constant velocity. You can see these are pretty clean anyway. I've greased them up. I always pack in them. Whenever they come off, I just repack them all up, put loads of grease on them. And then when it's in, you pack the grease inside the CV joint itself in the car, which I'll show you when I put it in. So when you put these CV gaiters back on, you just literally want to push them over to this ridge. This section here has to be over this ridge, so it holds it in place. Don't go before it or after it. So just slide it down and you'll feel it. There you go, so it's just pushed over the ridge now, so that's in perfect position. Don't be scared to pack this full of grease. Basically, the more you pack it, the better it's going to be. As long as you've got a nice CV gaiter that ain't split, you don't have to worry. So just pack it as firmly as possible full of grease. You can overpack them, but You don't want it to all be squirting out everywhere, but get a nice load of grease in there. You want to properly lubricate these balls. So getting this CV joints on just the same as reversal, but this time when you put it in, leave this nut on because you're going to have to give this a tap. Do it with a rubber hammer, but make sure that nut is fully on because you don't want to destroy the threads on here. Once you've destroyed the threads on the end of this CV joint, it's toast. You either have to re-thread it, which is very, very difficult to do, or you have to cut it down because these are normally oversized anyway. So clean around the edge of this CV joint and also inside the CV gator itself. You want it to be dry so it's rubber, and you see there's a groove inside that CV joint in the gator, and that sits in the groove on here. But you don't want it to be covered in grease because it will just slip off when you try to tighten it up. So as I say, because I'm servicing these regularly, I use a nice thick cable tie instead of these CV clips. The way I get these super tight so these never come off is I just wrap the cable tie around a set of snips or pliers, and you can hear it. Just keep doing that till you're literally happy with the tension. It's under super tension before it snaps, and that'll do. They're never going to come undone. Snip it real close as well so it doesn't catch on anything. So there you go, that CV joint's ready to go back in. So everyone knows me. I'm going to obviously give this a whiz over, give it a clean up quickly. So as I said to you, I'm full of CV grease already. Every rag I've got is covered in it. One of the nastiest jobs, but got to be done. So as you see here, this inner one for the long shaft is different. Give this cage a wiggle and these ball bearings will come out. You can see you'll be able to take them all out. And once they're all out, once one starts to come out, they all come out. Make sure you don't drop them because they've got to stay round, grip free. Keep them clean. Most important part. Make sure this ain't seized up as well. Sometimes they overheat and these can get seized. And you can pop it backwards like that. Out the way, and now there's another circlip on here, exactly the same as the other side. We take that circlip off and the whole lot comes off. I normally pack it full of grease in here first. It makes it a lot easier, a lot less messy, and then you can just put your drive shaft into that then, and then seal it over. Don't really matter how much grease you put in it. So just a quick one, it's quite tight in here so it's hard to film. Before you take this CV out of this inner one on the driver's side, you've got to make sure you remove this ring. This ring goes on around the outside of the CV joint, and that holds in the drive shaft. I'll show you what I mean when I fit it, but if you don't remove that first, you're never going to get that out. So that's so tough for me to film in this little tight area, but the CV joint is in. You can see how you get it in, and if you look around the ring, you see that clip that I've put in. There's a little recess in there that it needs to pop into. That stops the CV popping out. So you can see if you leave that in and don't prise it out before you try to remove this, you're going to end up snapping it or breaking it. So I'm about to get this coilover on now. I've just had to go over a few little bits up here. Wanted to address the issue with going around the back of the coilover. I wanted to put it on with two cable ties going through. They're them split pin cable ties, them ones that go through the chassis, lovely and strong. I had to address a little bit of wiring as well. I had to extend, make an earth here, extend this gearbox sensor for the reverse light. I also had to extend the one that goes up here to the water tank for the coolant level. So obviously put a clip up there as well, bit of shrink tube in, and put a grommet around there. So I'm just about to refit the side skirt to the car. I had to do some little bit of painting underneath the side seal. I had to pull the side skirt off. When you're putting it back on, you're going to have to go and buy a new one of these clips. They're so cheap. Normally I'd say to you, go and get GM ones, go and GM ones, but GM ones are just as crappy as these ones. I think they're like a one-time only use because I've never been able to get them off without breaking. So yeah, I always replace them with brand new ones, otherwise you're going to have a hanging side skirt. Suspensions all together, it's time to address this brake line issue. See, I've repaired the clip with a better version. So I've bent this one up already, you see it in the previous vid. So that's going to slide through a little bit more, goes up to here. This goes up through the chassis leg now as well, that's where it rots around this section here. So I cut the brake line about halfway along the straight section along the back of the bulkhead, and I'm going to put a joiner in there now, and that will join it over to the driver's side line. So I'm just using the most simple flaring tool you're ever going to get. I think it's just a laser one, it wasn't even expensive. And yeah, it creates nice little flares. You can see this is the same flare as the factory. I've just put on a new union on there as well. You can see that's, try and focus in, that's quite nice. Exactly the same as the factory one, so the same flare. And yeah, you can just use this tool. This is the cutter, this cuts the pipe nice and flush. Don't try using a hacksaw. So as I said in previous videos, this is the stuff you want to use. Don't use copper, use conifer. It's a nickel tubing, ain't going to corrode, and this is the copper stuff. You can see the difference between the two, and this is just ridiculously soft. I would have thrown this out if it weren't brand new, but yeah, just use this conifer stuff, don't bother using copper. So let me show you how to quickly make a flare on this scrap bit of metal. So first off, you want to get a nice clean end, so you get your cutter, and this cutter just screws down like this over the top of the line, and then you just keep spinning it, tighten it down a little bit more, spin it, tighten it down a little bit more, spin it, just keep doing that, and then it'll cut a nice fresh finish through the pipe like that. You can see nice clean finish. So now just get your clamp. Even though we're using 3/16 tube, just use the 5/8 because it'll be nice and tight over it then, and get this clamp down really tightly. So the clamp, and what I normally have is about 5 to 6 mil at the end of the clamp. That gives me a lovely flare. So around about that sort of length at the end of the flare, and then make sure you clamp this clamp down really tightly. So as I say, that this is a 3/16 pipe, so that's the one we're going to start with. So you want to put this insert now into the end of the tube. It goes in there like that, and that's going to create the flare. And then you get your clamp and you just put it over the top like that, over the top of the flaring clamp, screw it down, and it's literally as simple as this. So now just crimp this down as tight as possible, and there's your flare. So you can see it's nicely crimped in there now. Just start loosen this back off, take that off here. And it's as simple as that. So there is other sort of flares you can do. You can do double flares, all sorts, but luckily Vauxhall use this simple flare. So this is the driver's side line all done up. You can see there's lots of different bends and curves and all sorts in this one, but it made it really simple by just using this simple bender. It's a really, really nice tool. Quickly show you how it works. You've got a 45 degree, 90 degree in there on the side, so you've got a line there. You can tell what sort of bend you're doing. So it's just a simple case of just putting in your straight pipe in there. You can see up close there's the line with the 45 and the 90 degree, and you can just keep turning it. So you can see we're up to 45 degree now. Now we're up to 90 degree, and you get a lovely radius bend on it. So that's why I use this conifer line. See how nice that comes out. Lovely 90 degree bend. And then if you need to do more complex shapes, you can obviously put it back in, do like another 90 degree bend, and you've got a lovely proper shape instead of trying to do it with your fingers. I mean, the conifer is a real stiff material, so it's a lot harder. If you used copper in the past, you realise that you could probably bend it. But with conifer, you're going to need a bending tool to get lovely complex shapes like that. This brake line as well on the passenger side, I don't really want to be making that complex brake pipe up when there's no need. You can see this is no corrosion on this pipe at all, so I've just flared it, put a fitting on it. That's just going to go down the back of the chassis leg, and I'm going to make it up in this arch and make another line up like I did on the driver's side. So I've just made up the little extension part that's going to go down the back of the chassis leg and then go up towards the caliper, to the braided lines. I've changed it up a little bit on this side because I've got some wiring. I'll show you quickly. So you can see on this one, instead of going round this part of the chassis leg that they normally come round, I've got a bit of wiring. I've got to put some protection over it, and that's going around the back there, so I didn't want the brake line going around there as well. So I'm bringing the brake line around this side. You can see that's the joiner coming up from the brake line off the ABS pump. So you can sort of see the shape that I made this one. A few 90-degree bends. It just looks really tidy. So that's how that one's going to sit in there, joining up to the joiner on the back of the chassis leg. It's going to go to the clip onto the calipers, and then it's just, I'm going to be securing it with some clips, just going to sit nice and tight to the chassis like that. So that's the last of the brake lines done finally. So it's about time we fit some drop links to the car. So these drop links I've went for are the same drop links as I'm using on my Astra GSI. They are Mayle Hd. Now, obviously HD stands for heavy duty. These are the best drop links you can buy OEM wise for these cars. You can get rose jointed ones for track and adjust them, all sorts of different things. But as soon as the grease starts to wear out in this end ball joint, they start getting really noisy, squeaky and all sorts. Don't be thinking as well that because these are metal, these are stronger than the plastic ones. The plastic ones are really, really strong. The reason I use these are, the ball joint on these is about twice the size as the ball joint on the stock ones. Also, they have the plastic on the back of the ball joint as well. So if you ever hit a pothole or something like that, they can give way. They're designed to crack and not all the strength in this metal and bends your suspension components. I just want to show you a comparison between the plastic one and the Mayle Hd ones. So you can see the size of the ball joint difference on the Mayle ones. Pretty much twice the thickness. That's the ball joint there on the stock one, and that's the ball joint all the way to there on the Mayle Hd. So if you're going to go for them, go for these ones. And also, before you fit in these drop links or any drop links, just make sure that you've figured out what size this flat part is that you've got to hold the back of the thread, because you won't be able to see it on the bottom of the anti-roll bar. So these ones are 16mm, which is different to the normal ones. The normal ones are like 17s or can be 19s. Sometimes I have to grind that flat to fit in between the roll bar. Right, there we go. So the drop links are all on. So I think now you agree that we are pretty much uprated to the max we can do on this front end and the rear end, really. So we've got the solid subframe mounts on there now. We've got the inner TRW tie rods, the outer Mayle Hd tie rods. We've got the Mayle Hd drop links, the Whiteline front anti-roll bar with the uprated bushes. We've got the poly bushes on the Wishbones as well. I'm going to change them to the black series in the future. Obviously the ball joints have all been done. All the CV gaiters, all the drive shafts have all been greased. And we've got our big brake kit on there as well. Brembos, and we've got adjustable coilovers. So we've fully set up now. We've got all the adjustability we need on the front and rear for the track, and we can enjoy it throughout the summer. So I'm glad to get that finished. And not forgetting, we've already got a Quaife Atb differential in the gearbox, so we're going to have all the grip we need. So I've only put these brakes on for a test fit, just to make sure all the brake lines and everything line up perfectly. But they're coming back off now, so I'm going to refurb them up. And I don't know whether to go with, I've got some black decals for the Brembo. You can see obviously they're white at the minute. I've got black ones. I was going to do them red again with black decals just to quiet them down a bit, because that's a bit bright, but I've still got some white ones as well. What would you go with, white or black for the decals?